In this video, we are going to on the update feature in our PO page. So right now we are able to show the data, the different purchased orders that we made to the suppliers. So here we'll need to add the feature which we can set how much quantity arrives, and then also a status of the order. So before we do that, let's add a new column. So I'll call it quantity received. Then here use the quantity received column, and also here we can use or update the product or the quantity received column to refresh. So here it's still null, so that means we haven't updated it or we haven't received the product. Okay. So now let's go at the update. So as you can see here, we have this update button. So the same thing with what we did in our delete our previous pages. We can just add data ID. Then here we can pull the record, the order product record. So this is the key, the primary key. So once we update the columns or rows, we need this primary key. So let's also add in our query the ID. So here we can use batch PO and then ID. So if we refresh, then here if we look at the update, as you can see data ID 16, and if we go look at this ID 16, supplier is Nestle product number 3. So as you can see, Nestle product number 3. So sorry, so actually this should not be data ID, since we're talking about the batched here. We can use, instead of the ID, so sorry about that, it should be the batch ID. So if we refresh batch ID, I think this one, so it's not inside the array, but it's the key, so the data ID. So if we click, so here what we're going to do is, once we click the update, it will show us the dialog, and then here we can grab the product, and then we can set the receive or maybe the status, or the option where we can set the status of the product, so it can be pending, active, or I don't know, other status. So for now we'll just use active, not active, but arrive, not arrive but complete or incomplete. So you can, or you can just add your own statuses. in your system. So if you are following the video, you can make your own statuses. So for now, I'll just add the incomplete and complete and then pending. And also, before we forget, I'm just going to add the so the so I'm going to look for this order products. Okay, so it's inside the save order, and as you can see the status here, we just need to update this one to pending. So that's the default status when we create the product or create the purchased order. So now here, once we click the update button, we're just going to grab the data here. So inside the form, we can use it, can have an ID. So we're going to grab it using JavaScript, clicking the button. So this is the batch ID. So now we have that batch ID. So what we're going to do is we'll add a class on each of this TD. So class PO product. So columns that we need to show in our dialog: PO QTY order, also here class QTY received, and then class supplier, then also the status. So let's go directly to the span. No, status. And then what we're going to do is we need to add a hidden hidden input, and then here we'll call it, or maybe add a class PO QTY row ID. So inside the row ID, its value will be the batch PO.id. So if we refresh, and here should see that hidden ID 18. So this means this is the row number 18 in our order product table. if we check the others, because it's dynamic, we have 17 and 16. So now in our update POBTN, so here we're just going to view our previous file. So I think product view will have the click event. So I'm just going to copy this, then here, so same template that we use across our files. Then here on the event that the page or the document is clicked, we get the target element, the class list. So in our class list, we need to grab the class name update btn, so which means if we click the update btn, we'll just alert for now the high. So if we click high, so now once we click the update btn, we need to get the batch number. So this data set will have the batch number, so it will be the ID, that's the name of the data element or data element. Then here what we are going to do is we'll get all purchase order product records. So if you remember, we added this one in our batch ID. So since this will give us the batch number, we can then use so target our container L. So here we can use get element by ID. Well, actually we can directly use the or get this data. So what we're going to do is, what we need is product, we need the QTY order, we need the received, we need the supplier, and then the status. So here we'll need to create the selectors. So here document the query selector, and then here we'll have the ID, so which is the batch number, and then append the classes that we add. So for now let's use PO product. I don't need to append or use the plus sign, so PO product. For product, the QTY ordered will be QTY ordered, received will be this class, the supplier, and then the status, which is this class. So now if I'm going to log product QTY order, QTY receive, supplier, and the status, hit the console, so unexpected string. So here it should be a plus sign instead of the dot. So we update. Here we have an error, failed to blah blah blah. So here we need to add spacing, and then here it's a class, so we need to add the dot. But we also need to do pull the text, so refresh, update, document that query. So here it says it's not a valid selector. So let's just try this one. Our console document. So I think the problem here is here we hard coded our data, so it should be, I'm sorry, so we remove that one. So for the ID we'll need to have, should be a text instead of a string, I mean a number. So here we can do the container. So back to the batch number, so I can use or append batch number container. We can then use that string, append the number, then here let's go copy and paste, refresh, click. So you can see we are able to get the batch number. So let's just console log batch number container. So as you can see here, it should not be the text, but use the inner text. So if we update, you can see it says pull default send. So as you can see here, we only selected the first row. What we need is selecting all of these rows. So instead of this one, you can make use of all. So this will select all results of this query selector. So if we update, so for now let's just going to remove. So this will give us different nodes. So we have to receive, then here supplier, and then the status. So why the status is not logging? So let's just move this one inside the TD class. See if this will work. 1 2 3 4. So I think that's, so let's just keep it that way, and then here will be to the edges. to list. So what we're going to do is we can then loop to each of this. So here we can add the variable. So PO list use an array. So this the product list. So here we'll just use the for each to loop the element. Key sol.log key zero one two. So the product list, so as you can see it's showing 3 of the products. So since we have 3 rows, so let's select this one, should select 1 row. So in our PO list we can use list R is the key, then here we can use product, and then this will give us the product element. And then you can use inner text. If you refresh, so we still don't have the product. We can use so the I think so. As you can see here, we can easily use a for loop on this one. So we'll just we don't need to specify or loop each of this. So instead of looping each of this, we can do for loop I start with 0, I is then 5. So here the 5 will represent the number of data that we want to get. Then here I plus plus. So here to get the first element of this list, we can just use console.log product list, then I. So if we refresh update, as you can see, still get the data. So what we're going to do now is we know that's the we can use this one as an array. Also use qty I. So if we update other production 23 product 3 to G2, so that means they are in the same row. So we can now use product R that push or push an object here, the product name qty or qty receive supplier status. So can then use this one, then inner text, so the same for each of these, but instead of the product list, we'll update to quantity order, quantity received, supplier list, status list, and then here the list star. So if we just check if this works, so update. So product list that I will have inner text. Not sure why it's not working. Let's try to console log. So I see here we have this. So the count here 5, the count here so here the length is based on the number of rows that we have. So as you can see here, we only have 3, and how do you know? We can just use the product list that length. So if you refresh, it should display update. So let's go refresh console the log, remove this one, then update. So as you can see, 2 elements we have here: Milo 321 pending, next is Milo 123 empty pending nested supplier. So let's get the last one or first one: 3 records, multi products, and 23 pending supplier run. So as you can see, we are now able to get the data. So next thing that we need to do is going to show a dialog and then update the table, so set how much we receive, and then the status of that order.